Education and workplace are the two main places to confront racism, and education system, I think, is really important source or place to face racism and fight racism. Since you are a digital nomad, I'm sure you've taught many students worldwide. Do you feel that we need to change the education system to fight racism?
I do believe that there are a lot of misinformation in our history books. There's an old saying, the winners are the one who writes history, right? The losers, they disappear from the history books, right?
Yeah.
When we go as far back as times of not as far back, but when you look at war going back, let's say, hundreds of years, the second that one group would defeat the other group, one of the first things that they did was destroy all of their libraries, destroy all of their scripts, anything that represented them, their culture, their knowledge of them. They destroyed those things, so we really don't know. And I feel like these things kind of still happen till this day.
Yeah.
So I do think that we do need to revise, and when we decide to, we have to include everyone. We can't just include certain historians and not include others. It basically, at times they rewrite history, or they use type of vocabulary that downplays the what's the word that I'm looking for? The tragedies and the genocides and these really, really terrible things that past governments did, right?
Yeah.
We have this problem in America. What happened was the Civil War broke out because of slavery. The South of the United States wanted to keep it. The North wanted to abolish it. They disagreed. They went to war. After they lost, there was a organization of Southern women that came together, and they played a huge role in publishing the history books that we use till this day in schools. And what they found was that the language that was used in these history books was just plain racist, outright racist language. And number two, again, they were minimizing what had actually happened, right? So instead of using words like slaves, what's the word? Hold on. They would use indentured servitude. Indentured servitude is when men and women sign a contract to agree to work for a certain number of years in exchange for housing, clothing, and food, right?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. These people were slaves. They were bought and sold as property. The organizations were using these types of vocabulary in the textbooks. And now that we know that, and there's some textbooks that we, even now to this day, they use really racist terms, like using the word Negro to just describe black people and things like that. So I think we definitely, especially in America, we need to revise it. I'm sure other countries maybe not have the same exact problem, but a similar problem where when you think of Japan and Japanese imperialism, right? And how Japan wanted to take over Asia. They invaded China, invaded South Korea, things like that. But again, I saw a documentary about very similar issue where in the textbooks, they hardly bring it up in the textbooks, but you have to think about your neighbors. They have a problem with that. It was a big problem in Korea. I lived in Korea for a couple of years, and I saw how important the history was, because some of the people, especially women, young women who were sex slaves, right? Forced to work in brothels for the Japanese soldiers. Some of them are still alive. They're 100 years old. They're 101 years old, and all they want is an apology. They don't want money. They just want an apology from the Japanese government. And, many of them, unfortunately, have died and not received that apology. And then on top of that, to write your history books and to just minimize this person's suffering. So I'm sure every country has that issue, because we've all gone to war with our neighbors at some point.